Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this morning. You know what it is. This is Black Friday, and I have the young lady, the brainchild of Black Friday. This is my sister from another mother, but we got the same father. This is Miss Tawanda. Good morning, young lady. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. That weather out there is terrible this morning, and there was a horrendous accident right there outside, right where I had to make a U-turn to get to the studio. You have to go down past it and make a U-turn and come back. Well, right there where you make that U-turn, there was a horrendous accident, man. There was a Jeep and a sedan, and it was terrible. One person's in the passenger side. I saw one person on the passenger side of the sedan, and I hope they're okay. I just say it like that. I hope they're okay, because it didn't look good at all. And so, prayers are going out to them this morning. But kick this back a little bit. I do apologize to everybody for that. But we're here. This is Black Friday. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to do what we do. To wonder what is going on with you, young lady.
I stay busy. Mm-hmm. I stay busy because of Black Friday. I love Fridays. Mm-hmm. I love everything about Friday. I can't wait till Friday get here.
Exactly.
Because I just love Friday. It's something that we birthed and we watched. Mm-hmm. What happened, and we were study adjusting. So, we got some new things. Every time I feel like we accomplish something, I always feel like we have to one-up it. Specifically because we got some lightweight copycats.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So we got some other stuff, and I don't want people to take it wrong, because I want everybody to have a day and give Black business owners free promo. Mm-hmm. I think more so the problem with us is that with me, before I start anything, I try to look and see is there anybody that's already doing this, mm-hmm. in a small way or a big way, and I reach out to them. Mm-hmm. Now, whether they decide to work with me or partner or team up, that's up to them. But I tried.
Exactly.
I tried, and that's what I did all year. All last year. That's what I'll do all this year. But we're a little different than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because for one, it's not nobody, and it's just to brag a little bit, because I think we deserve to brag a little bit every now and then. People is not doing like what we doing. They can offer someone some free radio time. And before, honestly, this is honest, I'm being honest, because y'all know I'm not about to lie. I never ever seen anybody do this.
No.
Until now. Mm-hmm. And it's still lightweight what they're doing. It's a good push. I wish we could just have one giant network. It could be multiple radio stations, but just one giant network, and that's the problem with us in business. We don't collab enough. Mm-hmm. We don't network enough. We don't rely on our resources enough. We don't do any of this stuff. We just try to compete. So that was, I wasn't going to talk about accountability today. Mm-hmm. I really wasn't going to talk about accountability, but I feel like that's where the spirit led me. So That's what we're going to talk about.
Exactly.
Personal accountability is everything. You have people out here that it's like, I don't know why my life is this way. And
Exactly.
Why your life is like that. Some things that you can't help, and you have to readjust, and that's life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Leonard just inbox, well, just text me, and he's actually on the way here. He was telling me about the accident that I was just speaking to you all about. And he says, he says it's hard to get through. Yeah, and it is. I mean, they got their traffic. It's terrible. It is terrible. So Leonard should be here with us in just a few minutes as soon as he make it through that little spot right there. And like I said, it's right here at the studio. And so, Leonard, he'll be here. But my thing is this right here. We do have some copycatters. We have some people that want to come along. They saw what we was doing and saw it effectively as to how we was doing it. But my thing is this right here. You, if you have the original and you make a copy from the original, it's never going to be like the original. It might be a copy. But and my grandmother used to always tell me, baby, if somebody copying what you're doing, that means you're doing something good. That means you're doing something good. Mm-hmm. So evidently, we doing something good. I'm really pleased with what we're doing and the people that we're helping along the course. Because, a lot of people, they'll come back and say, man, that really helped me. I didn't know this or I didn't know that, and I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to utilize. And see, that's why you do it. You don't do it for money. We don't charge anybody anything. Mm-hmm. We do it because of the fact that, you thought about it. You said, look, let's do this right here. We came together. We said, let's go ahead and get it started. Let's work it. And that's what we did. The first couple of weeks, the first week or two, we had, that we was doing this, we had crickets. we had crickets. I mean,
it was so bad the first couple of weeks. I remember the phone call, like, what do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
do you want to stop and, reapproach and reevaluate and do it over? Or do you just want to did the whole Black Friday? What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm not a quitter.
Exactly.
I'm not
a quitter. Exactly.
So, and sometimes in business, you have to evaluate situations like that. Because if I have a business where it's all this time and I'm putting out more than what I bring back in, you have to reevaluate and you have to do something different. And exactly. I think that's where people are frustrated in business. Like I said, 95% of the people do it wrong. So what I have decided, and I'm only one person, okay? Right now, I'm only one person because I have a team, but, I have them doing 50 million other things, and they never complain. Shout out to them because they don't like to be named. But shout out to them. But we want to start getting into other stuff. Now, it won't be free, of course. And let me say while I'm thinking about this right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, people hit me up all week about business, and I say, come talk to me about business on Friday, okay?
Yeah.
That's the most beneficial day because it's free. I'm not gonna. I can't keep talking to y'all about business on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't do that.
Yeah, okay? Exactly.
We just got too much going on with other things. So to make it fair, that we already have package deals for radio promo, which I thought is amazing. Because for some reason we figured out that people don't like to call in. I don't know whether it's they don't dislike us. Like, nah, how could they not like us?
Exactly. Come on now. Come on. How could they not like us? We're just the nicest people.
That's true. Unless you do something to cross me, then you might want to watch out a little bit.
Exactly.
I'm not nice anymore. Okay. But so we wanted to try to this year. I wanted to try to offer, some more things. We have I have so many business pages that we test it. We test the numbers. Anybody that follows me knows I'm a numbers person. I love numbers. So anytime something does numbers, I share. And I share in efforts to hope that people get motivated that, hey, look, you guys did this. If it's something that has to do in reference to whether it's the missing kids or something, you guys shared this.
Yeah.
You guys shared this one by one 20,000 times. Or just with Priorities News, which I do, a news agitator for judicial misconduct. We just hit a great milestone of 105,000 shares in a week.
That's good.
That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to start doing some promo, and we start putting together some other packages just on Facebook business pages. Also, starting to try to help people, because we can talk about different things, like, do you have a business plan? Like, what is your goals? We can do for people send me their business page, and I look at their business page that they have on social media, and I'm like, well, no wonder you don't have any traffic. No wonder. So, we can probably start doing some audits. Again, that stuff won't be free, but it's just some things that I've thought about that we can do. I know people are terrified with ads. I love ads simply because they do the work that I don't have time to do sometimes. It depends on what I'm doing, because I might be doing 10 things at one time, but that's how my brain operates. Can somebody else do it? Probably not. But if I had to do one thing, I'd probably lose my mind, just because my brain operates in a whole total different capacity than the next person. I can multitask very well. Not everybody's able to do that. So, we want to start incorporating different things, because you'll be surprised how many people is in business and they don't even have an ideal of a business plan. And it's not, and really a business plan is for you.
Yes.
It's not for anybody else. It's for you to know, where you started, what's your end goal, and then along the way be able to tweak it and say, hey, and come back and look at it. Every time that I hit a goal, it's exciting. We celebrate. We celebrate because you don't have to hit those goals. You have to. It's hard work out here.
Oh yeah.
In these streets, it's not easy promoting, but I love everything about promoting. I love everything about all this because you get to engage with your audience. It's the same thing in business. You want to engage with your audience. And when people say to me, "Oh, how and why do you do Black Friday for free?" We have a paid version of Black Friday, but it's no different in the business world. I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, it's no different than in the business world if you was trying to get in contact with a cold audience. Okay, what would happen would be, technically, you wouldn't sell your product at full price. Okay. You would do what is considered.
Keep it going for a second. I see Leonard just pulled up. The receptionist hadn't got here yet, so I got to go let him in. So keep it going for a few minutes.
Okay. So in the business world, when you want to introduce a product or a service to a cold audience, what would happen would be you would introduce them to a cold traffic. Now, it's not good to try to do things to a cold traffic, so you need to get some type of relationship with that person and warm them up. Normally in business, it's considered a tripwire, where you introduce a low, free, or introductory price rate. Say, like you have a business or a service where it's typically $99. Okay, so your cold traffic, you would introduce them to maybe 90% off. Maybe it's $9 or $10. Okay. And that's how you get the people in. Well, Black Friday is no different.
Yes.
It's no different than that, because we're offering a free or low cost service. And then that's how you get these people in. Okay. Yeah. They come on, they listen to Black Friday. Okay. She know a little bit of what she's talking about. So I need her. People always need you. I don't care. I can tell you how to do it. I can hold your hand while you do it, and they still will need a service for someone to do it, because people don't want to waste time.
Exactly.
It's either you're going to waste time or you're going to waste your money. And it's a toss up between the two. People, what I've realized is people will be like, well, I can just learn how to do it myself. Well, it's a trade-off for your time, because that same time that you wasted, okay, that you could have put in your business or somewhere else where you're trying to learn how to do this service, and you're probably going to learn at 50% because you're not gonna. You just don't know. You could have then had someone else. You could have paid someone to do it, and it could have been done, and you could have been focusing on whatever else you had to focus on.
Exactly. And see, and see, in business, there's a lot of different alleys. There's a lot of different avenues that you have to cover. And in covering those avenues, my thing is, and people have always told me, if you're going to do business, always get somebody in your corner that's smarter and knows more than you know. Always get somebody in there that knows. And why would I try to do something alone marketing or something like that? And I have people like Tawanda in my corner that knows that. That's something I ain't got to worry about. I could look at Tawanda, look at this is what we need. This is what this is where we're trying to go. This how can we get there? And pay her for and listen. Pay her for her services. Pay her for her services. She's providing a service for you that's going to help you make money. Sometime in order to make money, it's going to cost you some money. Sometime in order to make money, it's going to stop being cheap. And I'm talking to somebody out there. Look, stop being cheap. You want somebody to come and do all this stuff for you for free, and you get all the money, all the benefit, all the glory, and everything, and they walk away with nothing. Yeah, they have they know that they was able to help you. Yeah, they have the honor and the thrill or whatever of knowing that they help you, but at the same time, they got bills too. They got bills too.
And
go ahead.
And don't get me wrong. Because a lot of time I feel like when you're new and you're starting out, when I started out with the t-shirt line, that's what you had to do. I had to be able to give out some products for free. I had to be able to cut costs just for people to know who I was, and I had to, make deals for trade-offs of products and services. Hey, you do this for me, and I'll give you this, or hey, I'll give you this t-shirt or whatever. The only thing that I require is I be able to use your picture, or I be able to use, or if I was doing graphics for someone's logo or a flyer, hey, I'll let you have this. I'm not going to charge you anything. Just give me a good review or something like that. That's okay. That's okay.
Exactly.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that always, what can I? It could be the lowest price. You could take 90% off or 75%, and people still want that additional discount. And you don't walk into any other store and ask them for a discount. So that's I don't know why that came on my spirit today, but your price is your price, and people have to get comfortable. I think a lot of people are not comfortable stating their price. Don't undervalue yourself because someone in your circle can't afford you. That's fine. That means that you have to change your circle, because it's people out there that can afford your price. I don't care if your price is $100 or $100 million. It's somebody out there that can afford your circle.
Exactly. And those are the people you're looking for. Those are the people you're searching for. The people that can afford you, because you don't want to sit there 2 weeks, a month, negotiating with somebody that ain't gonna pay you no way. You sitting there negotiating with somebody for 2 weeks, a month, back and forth. They ain't gonna pay you anyway. You could almost give it to them for free, and they gonna find something wrong with free point 50 cent. They gonna find something wrong with it. Can you make it 25 cents? Hold on now, Leonard. What do you say today? Good morning, Leonard. How you doing, brother?
Good morning. How are you all today?
Hey, doing good, man. What do you say to that, Leonard? Negotiating with somebody that ain't gonna pay you anyway, or better yet, people want to get you to provide a service for them for free, and yet and still they're making all this money off of it.
Don't waste your time with this type of people.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna wind up frustrated.
Exactly.
And whatever it is you offering or selling or whatever may have some type of negative connotation. You never know what could happen.
Exactly.
But you shouldn't really be struggling with people like that.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to always try to get over on you.
Exactly. And one of the things that, and that's something, but I got something else I kind of want to talk about today, too, if y'all don't mind. I got something else I want to talk about today. And Tawanda, we got some help. Today. Okay. We got some help. But I want to talk about contracts and how important is contract and the verbiage that is in that contract. Now.
Good morning.
Hold on. I got a surprise. Hold on. Don't blow my surprise. Now. See,
I heard it.
You don't let the cat out the bag. Lord, you don't let the cat out the bag. We got some help.
I heard it.
We got some help this morning. And we got this young lady on the line with us this morning. I'm going to tell you something. It's absolutely a thrill, honor, and pleasure to have her when she's a very busy young lady. And that she give us her time when she can to come through and talk to us and educate us for free. Now, she's doing this for free out the kindness of her heart. She's doing it for free out the kindness of her heart. This is my sister from another mother, but we got the same father. This is my sister, attorney. I'm calling her attorney, Sheila. Can I call you that?
No.
Yeah.
Good morning, young.
How are you doing this morning?
Hey, doing good.
Good morning.
Look at she high and a happy elephant, a lady, and porcupine proud every time you come. I'm gonna tell you now, that's what she is. High and a happy elephant, elated, and porcupine proud every time you come through. But we want to talk this morning a little bit and educate everybody on contracts. And the importance of contract. Why do you need a contract? And what is the foundation of that contract if you get into a legal situation? What would you say to that?
Yeah, it's and it's interesting too, because sometimes I think we're always thinking in terms of written contracts, and we make oral contracts all the time. Sometimes we do it based on our actions. When we walk into a store and we go in to buy something and we walk out with it, there's sort of an implied contract there, that I'm getting what I paid for. And when I take it home, it's going to work. It's going to actually do what it's intended to do. And so we don't sit down and think about the fact that we just entered into a contract with another party, and that in the event something's wrong with that product, we actually do have some recourse, So, yeah, we enter into contracts all the time. The thing about it is, we usually don't sit down and take the time to write down contracts when we really need to. And I think sometimes people feel a little overwhelmed, like they have to have a lot of legal expertise and professional background to be able to write a contract. And what I tell people is, sometimes if you can at least, because everybody can't afford an attorney. Sometimes you might not have an attorney available to you when you need them, and it might not be an attorney who understands the kind of work that you need them to work on in terms of the contract. Most do, but still, you might be in a place where that's not available to you at that point in time. And so I tell people, you know what, if you have some basic understanding and a little bit of skills, you went to high school, maybe you even have some community college or some a paralegal background, or you've worked in an office setting, then you've probably seen some contracts before. You have a general idea of how they work.
Yes.
And so, I tell people, if you can't find an attorney, or you can't get up with one at that time, it might be good for you and that other person to at least sit down and put some things down on paper. Because even if you hire an attorney, the best we're doing, this is what I tell people all the time, we're not going to be able to take away all of your problems with that contract. What we're trying to do is minimize the number of issues that might pop up. And so you can never visualize what all those issues are going to be. And so, it's really important when you can to at least get what you can down on paper. So, for instance, you might know the date that you want something due. You might know who's going to be providing it, where you want them to be, and how much it's going to be. And so there are some things you could put right there on a piece of paper that says, we agree to the following. I'm going to pay you $500 no later than February 1st, 2020. You're going to provide the following services. And you're both signing it at the bottom. That's a contract, and it helps to have it in writing because, it's going to be, if you don't have it in writing and it's oral, you're later trying to figure out who said what. You're like, oh, well, we agreed on February 1st. And the other party goes, no, we talked about February 1st, but remember I told you I was going to be out of town, and so that was going to be a bad day. I didn't realize that was what you but if you got it on that piece of paper, it's very clear that you both agreed to February 1st. So, yeah, it's very important to get it in writing when you can.
Now, let me ask you this. If you enter into a contract with someone, and 6 months into that contract, you two sit down and y'all have a conversation, and y'all want to change certain parts of that contract verbally, is that legal, or does it have to be in writing?
It depends. In most of the contracts that I draft for people, I will put language in there that talks about amendment, and it usually says this contract may not be amended unless that amendment is in writing and agreed to in writing by both parties.
Okay.
And so you can totally amend it. Both parties just have to agree to it, and you just have to put it in writing. And I tell people, it doesn't have to be some sort of 5-page formal thing in writing. You know, it could be just something you've drawn up saying, hey, we're amending the contract executed on X day, and this is the paragraph that's being amended. And here's the new language. Okay. Like, you know, it doesn't, I think sometimes we think the more we add to something, that makes it better. And that's not true. You know, what you want is the plainest language that's clear, that anybody can understand, and that's it. You don't need anything extra. More doesn't make it better.
Okay. And so you can go in certain parts of the contract. You don't have to go in and change or come up with a totally new contract. You could just go into certain areas where this is what we said it was going to be 2 people. Now we need 3 people, so we could go in and you could change just that part of the contract, and that's still legal.
So yes, what I always tell people is, what does the current contract say about anything? So, you know, first thing you would do is you would say, okay, so what does the contract say? What does the current contract say about how we treat amendments? And so if the current contract addresses it, then you'll just follow what it says. You know, I've seen some that say only one party can amend it, and it can only amend this one thing. And I mean, you know, sometimes it can be really specific. If you don't have anything there at all, which is rarely the case, there may be some question about what authority the parties have about amending the contract. And if it's something that's really, really, really important to the contract, you know, you need to ask. At that point, you may want to sit down with an attorney just to make sure you don't need to have a new contract, because depending upon what's being changed, you may need a new contract. So, for instance, if you're saying, oh, we want to add another party to the contract, I mean, you know, there's some question there. I would suggest doing a new contract, because you would need to make it clear what this new party, you know, you would be like, you know, you would possibly be changing a lot to the contract. In that case, you would probably need a new contract. So part of it is, number one, look to the language that's already there about what's being amended. And number two, if there's no language at all, then it probably depends on what you're trying to do. And at that point, you probably should ask an attorney.
Now, and I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to go to Leonard, then I'm going to go to Tawana, because I know they have questions for you concerning this as well. If I'm doing business with someone and they say to me, well, I'm going to send you this contract, I'm going to have my attorney to write up this contract. Now, if the attorney is working for them, and this is a very simple question, but a lot of times people don't take the time to do it. That's why I'm putting it out there. If their attorney write a contract, 9 times out of 10, that contract is geared toward his or her client, and they bring that and they bring that contract to me and say, well, you know, you signed this contract, blase, blase, blase. Should I at that time say, well, let me hold on to the contract and let me take it to my attorney? And let my attorney look at the language in the contract, and then we could come together or meet. How should that work? How should that whole process?
You just described it. That's exactly how it should work. You know, so the first thing people have to realize is when the other side says that they're bringing you a contract, or their attorney has drafted a contract, that contract is set up for their benefit, not yours. And so, you know, you need to actually review that contract in detail and make sure there isn't anything in there that would harm you, or just not even necessarily harm you, but sometimes it may be just something simple that doesn't work for your current environment. So, and I'll give you an example. I had a guy who was signing a contract with a music company that was going to do some stuff for him, and they sent the contract. Well, this guy had a full-time job during the day, you know, and the contract had this piece in there, and it said something like he would be required to do this as, you know, his full-time endeavor and that he couldn't do anything else. And we were like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because he has a full-time job that pays his bills. And so I immediately sent it back saying, we'll need you to take this part out because he works.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's what you do. If you don't, so sometimes it's just something very simple, and it depends on the phrasing too. They might not have necessarily meant that he had to give up his job, but that they meant that he was going to be focused on it and committed to it. But that's not what the contract says. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? So you actually, the language of the contract controls. And so you are exactly right on that. If somebody brings you a contract that their attorney drew up, they drew it up for them, not for you.
Exactly. Leonard, what's on your heart?
Hey, man, I'm just listening. It's good information that she's given. I've always had a personal and small business management company, and part of that is just like what she said. A person will come to me because they're in a situation and they may need help with that contract. And the first thing I have to ask them, I have to see currently what you have.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if, and usually I can tell people, like, a lot of times I do consulting. And consulting even over the phone. First thing I ask them about their contract, is there an arbitration portion of your contract? What happens if you all change your mind about something, or you have a disagreement about something? Because that is, the contract is how you do business.
Yes.
And it details to you the nature of y'all relationship.
Responsibility.
Yeah, who's supposed to do this, that, and the other. And she used that example of the guy in the music business. And we often hear about the music industry. Yeah. And somebody would believe or wouldn't understand that. Why are they not reading? Because it has to be there.
Yeah. It's there. A lot of times, and I don't know if this is by design, but a lot of times, you know, the contract has so many pages in it. In some instances, people just say, I'm not going to read all that. But the very page that you skip over could be the one that's going to hurt you.
And usually that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, I was working with an individual who had a issue with a contractor that was working on his house. And the contractor himself was not doing what he was supposed to do, didn't even pull a permit. So the work is being done. They get into an issue. Breach of contract occurred.
Yeah.
So by following up with him and going through the motions to find out what to do next in this particular county, it comes to find out that because he's the homeowner, they charged him.
It's going to fall on him. Yeah.
For not making sure that the contractor had a permit.
Exactly.
And so he had to go through all these different things. And also they had a arbitrator. Part of the contract was if there was a disagreement, go to an arbitrator. And I had to explain to him that whatever you want needs to come out of this arbitration.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a second chance to come back. So I would advise you to have professional opinions on what you're disputing. And all these things up front before you go in.
Exactly.
Because your contract allows you to go into arbitration.
Yeah.
Now, what you do after that is up to you.
You're stuck.
But arbitration is where your decision is going to come from.
Exactly. Tawanda, what's on your heart?
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And like I said, that show that went a little bit left when I said that, you know, we don't read enough, and we don't. And no, the stuff is not going to be in the first page because they know you might read that. The chances are people read the first page. But it may be in the fifth page because they know, and statistics show that we don't take the time to read, to read things out. And I've had to train myself because now I try to make a habit where if I need to read something, then I try to read it 3 times throughout the day, or have someone else do it, because a lot of the language and stuff they use, we don't understand that in the real world. You know, we don't understand, and we're not going to take the time to figure out. A lot of times, you know, they say, hey, it's a deadline, we need this by such and such time, and that's just to get you to sign quickly. But also I wanted to talk about not only even like legal matters with your business, like anything that you do, because I had an issue where I was doing logos and I was doing flyers for people, and people don't understand that the people that do it, they technically own that whatever the logo is or whatever it is. They own that too. So I don't think that people really understand the concept.
Mm-hmm. Is that what they call intellectual property? Is that what they call that?
So it could be, and what she's talking about sounds like if you're talking about like a trademark or a logo or something like that a business has. But both of them have hit on a whole lot, and I love the part where he said the contract governs and tells you how you do business, because that is exactly it. It tells you what your responsibilities are, what you're supposed to show up, what you're supposed to be doing, what they expect from you, what you expect from them. I mean, that I couldn't have summed it up better. And, I have plenty of clients who hire me because, number one, they don't have the time to read the contract.
Yeah.
And so they know, it's almost better for them to have me read it, go through it, highlight anything that's important that I need to have a conversation with them about, anything that stands out that I think needs to be changed, anything I'm worried about. They know that I'm going to spend the time to do that. And then you have some people who, really, they could sit down and they could take the time with it and they could understand it. But the other thing you hit on is there's sometimes these terms in there. And from a practical standpoint, we think we understand them, but the problem is sometimes there's a whole different legal definition that applies to them. And unless you know the actual legal standard or definition, you're thinking it means one thing and it actually means something else. And so, just and I tell people that, I'm like, you can always schedule a teleconference with me and email me the contract and we can sit down and go through it. Because typically that's what it is. It's people, I don't want to read the whole thing. They're like, Sheila, can you read it? And then here are the questions I have. And then did you see anything, that I need to know about or be careful about? And I'm telling you, some of the people I work with, the contract, it'll be one deal and it might be 5 different documents.
Wow.
And 3 of them are contracts that are like 10 pages. People don't, if you're running a business or you're working, when are you supposed to sit down and read all of that and then understand all of that and then go back to the other part? That's like a whole nother job for people who are especially running a small business. And so it's just easier to be able to say, hey, I need somebody to go over this with me. And I sat down and did something like this with somebody this week. The person had 2 contracts. They were going to hire an agent. And, I went through the whole first one and then got partially through the second one. Partially means I got through like the second paragraph and I said, okay, I'm going to stop here because these are totally 2 different contracts.
Wow.
I said, first thing I want you to understand is you can't really compare these because it's like comparing apples to oranges. Can you eat the peeling and can you not? They were just, one was like providing a full set of comprehensive services and the other was only providing a piece. And so I was like, you have to visualize how you would have to add the extra services to make them match and actually be able to compare them. And so, we went through the contract, but I just wanted to make sure they understood up front. Don't think that you're getting the same thing from these people because you aren't. They're bringing 2 different kinds of services to the table.
Exactly. And let me get everybody that's listening right now to the sound of my voice. If you're listening to us on the Facebook, I think they've put me on in Facebook jail again. So if you don't mind, share the broadcast. I think I'm in Facebook jail again. Because
you in jail,
man.
What you do?
Facebook don't like me for some reason, and
you need an attorney.
I think I do, and I know who I need to call. I know who to call. But my thing, so if y'all don't mind, share the broadcast on your page and put it out there and share it for me as well, because I think I'm in Facebook jail. But let me ask you this question. What is the, because people always say in contract, make sure you read the fine print. Why do they put so much in the fine print? What is the purpose of that fine print? Is it to conceal something that they don't want you to read, or is because you would know what it is? Why is there so much fine print?
So let me say this: there is something sometimes you'll see this language in contracts that'll say that the contract is not to be construed against the drafter. And that it means that both parties have adequately contributed to the making of the contract. Because what'll happen is, if there's something wrong with the drafting and it looks like something was hidden in fine print or something like that, the way the court usually views that is any errors or any problems with the contract is viewed unfavorably for the drafter. So it is not to their best interest to go in there and hide stuff, because if something pops up and you hid something, a court is going to view that in a poor light for you,
like
because
deception.
You drafted. They're going to be like, you drafted it, and it looks like you were trying to hide something. And so there is that sort of case law rule out there. And so if you ever run into a contract where it says that any errors with the contract or anything like that is not going to be construed with the drafter, that's because the general rule is construed against the drafter, that the drafter is responsible for any errors like that. So why the fine print? So I think the label fine print is just, I think it comes from this history of people really not being as educated about some of the legal terminology that's used. And so it's always, you better read that fine print because you don't know what the people put in there.
Exactly.
But I think that's less the case now, because number one, you can always go Google stuff. You can go watch YouTube videos, there's legal aid. There are a lot of sources out there to sort of help you. And so people know that they can't hide stuff like they used to be able to hide stuff. And number two, I think, like she said, a lot more people read stuff now. I mean, I run into a lot of people, even though I work with a lot of people who say, Sheila, I need you to handle this. I work with a lot of people who come to me and say, so I've already read this, and here are some of the concerns that I have. I know people who tell me all the time they do not read anything before. I mean, that they read everything before they sign it. They're like, I don't sign it without reading. I want to know exactly what I'm signing. So I think there's an awareness of that, and so there's less of it. And number three, it's just bad business.
Yeah.
So if you're out there doing, fine print and hiding stuff, word's going to get out. And people aren't going to use your service, or they aren't going to buy your product, because guess what? Now they don't trust you. And so I think there's less of that now. But I think in the past there was just this belief, because of things that had happened, because of how we sometimes view what's going on in the business world with some companies that have not that have not done the right thing. There are plenty of companies that do great things all the time, but when you run into those few, they say a bad apple can just make a whole tree look bad.
Yes, exactly. Tawanda, what's on your heart? Talking about the fine print.
Oh, I agree, because and I wanted to go to Sheila because I want her. She never tells about her offer, and I think it's super insane price where you can book her. So I wanted her to give out the information.
Okay. Yeah, and I do. I try to make it a reasonable price for people. So it's $45 for a 20-minute teleconference. And sometimes people go, okay, so it's just 20 minutes. I'm like, look, if you go over 5 or 10 minutes, it's not, the clock is not ticking. But if we start to head into an hour, that's a whole nother client that may have needed services at that time. So yes, so it's $45 for 20 minutes. And I have it on my website. And so the thing about it is you can go to the website and find a time that's available for you. So again, like I tell people, the opportunities for you to be able to reach out to people now and to just get some advice about something, or to just try to get a better understanding. And I know still for some people, $45 can be a lot. But I'm telling you, that $45 investment up front, because that's all it is. It's the conversation on the phone to help you get clarity about something that may be very important. If it's related to your business, or if it's something really important that you're engaging in your personal life, and you want to have somebody look over it, it will cost you less now than if you messed it up, or if there's something in there, then it will cost you later to hire an attorney to fix it for you.
So you gotta weigh the options. Is $45 now more valuable to you than having to spend thousands of dollars later? I mean, weigh the options. And my thing is, it makes more sense to me to pay $45 now. Do what you gotta do. Go sell some cans or something. Come up with $45, and once you get your little $45, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Go out there and get $45, borrow $45 from somebody, and get this service. Now, what is the website? Tell them the website.
Oh, it's SheilaHugginsLaw.com, and that's SheilaHuggins.com. And I'll put it on your Facebook page, too.
Good deal, good deal. We have another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, just 2 seconds. Good morning.
Good morning, Donna. How you doing?
Flashlight. Hey.
You knew it?
Hey, good morning, Flashlight.
You see what you did?
Good morning. It's too early in the morning to be screaming.
Donna, we have the thrill, honor. We have the thrill, honor, and pleasure of having with us Miss Sheila Huggins. Man, she's actually talking to us today. She's our attorney. She's our in-house attorney, and she's talking to us about contracts. What's on your heart?
Right. No, I'm listening and guilty about not wanting to read, especially. Well, you know what? The difference is I will read the fine print because that's the hidden treasure to me. So don't say it all, but I read it. I try to. It's hard to read it sometimes because we can't see. But I'm listening here and I'm soaking it up because there are some things that I want to do that I'm going to need some assistance. For real.
Exactly. So Sheila, what's on your heart?
So yeah, it's been a very interesting week. And so the brother brought up earlier, I didn't catch his name, about arbitration. And I know, in the past there's been some concern about whether or not people really are getting their fair shake when they go in front of an arbitrator. And I have represented, usually they're businesses and not individuals, in arbitrations. And, I find them to be an opportunity, a real opportunity for people to have their matter heard. Sometimes I think what I've heard, is concern that people are not getting their day in court. You're actually still being heard. Somebody's still listening to the legal arguments that you're making. They're reviewing the documents that you brought in. It's just you're not in front of a jury. But if you think that through, in most cases, you aren't in front of a jury anyway. Typically, it's going to be a bench trial, even if you get that far. And that just means it's being heard by a judge. So most things don't even make it to a trial in front of a jury. And you have to ask yourself, is the cost, not just monetary, but the cost in time and the effort worth it? If you can go in front of a mediator or an arbitrator and get the matter heard and maybe come to some sort of resolution at that level, trust me, it will save you so much in terms of being able to move forward past whatever that issue was and to get your life or your business back on track. And so I did 2 arbitrations this week. The gentleman who was the arbitrator was a retired judge, so he knows the law. And he gave, both. I was representing the plaintiff. The defendant was there in both of those cases. They represented themselves. The first one was very good. She brought a document, a letter to actually share, and so she had, literally, when she sat down, she had her documents laid out in front of her. She was ready to go. She presented what she needed to share very well. And I presented mine, and, but based on the law, that was how he made his decision, and so, this idea that we have to be in the courtroom in front of the jury to have our day in court is not necessarily the only way that we can do this. We need to think about alternative dispute options for us and what that looks like. And it's going to vary for anybody. I just, I'm challenged sometimes when I hear people sort of stick something in a box and make it sound like, oh, well, unless you get your day in court in front of a jury, you're not getting your fair shake, or you're not getting what's right, as if some of these other options aren't good options, because they very well can be, depending on what your circumstances are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What
we
you
got,
just mentioned.
Okay, hold on one second. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name from 205 area code? What's your name? Where you calling from? Come right back to you.
Good morning. This is Annie from Mississippi.
Hey, Annie from Mississippi. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We're talking to Attorney Sheila Huggins, and we're talking about contracts right now. I know you've been listening in for a minute. What's on your heart?
Contract. Well, okay. Let me just. I do have one question about contract. I signed a contract with a television station over 2 years ago, and I came out of it. A month before it was time for me to come out, and I did end up paying for the next month's segment. But even after that, I received a letter saying that I owed more for airtime, and I haven't yet paid it. They told me within 60 days I can pay it. Am I obligated to pay it?
So the first thing I would say is it depends on the contract. So what was his basis? Was some sort of, so what you would want to look at, let me tell you how to evaluate it. So you want to go back and look at the contract and get an understanding for how he's able to now come back to you and say that this is due. Okay? So it can't just be him sending you this request for more money. There has to be something in the contract that you agreed to that allows him to do that. Sometimes you'll see provisions in a contract that says, and it may be labeled survival. And so it means that under certain circumstances, even when the contract terminates, you still have to do A, B, and C. And usually that's something like a confidentiality clause or something like that.
Hey,
where,
Sheila, hold on for 1 second. Somebody have it on speakers.
Okay.
You have to take it off speaker because we're getting a feedback. Make sure y'all take it off speaker because, there you go. Thank you. I'm sorry about that, Sheila. Go ahead.
That's okay. So one of the things, like I said before, you want to look at the language in the contract of where he's getting these fees from, and to make sure that it's something that you're actually responsible for. And number two, sometimes they'll have this section in the contract that talks about survival, and it'll say basically, even when the contract ends, here are some things, some obligations that you still have. A lot of times those are like confidentiality provisions, or maybe a final paycheck that's due to you or something like that. I mean, it'd be like, oh yeah, the contract ended on January 31st, but yes, I can't disclose anything or compete with them for the next year. So even though that contract is done, you still have this continuing obligation for that time period. And so make sure, that there's some basis. If you have questions, I say ask. Make sure he can verify that those are fees that you're responsible for,
Good deal. Good.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Leonard?
I always advise people that if you're going to be running a business, always have a relationship with a legal expert, an attorney. And even with I started doing a lot of things simply because people were unable to comprehend the contracts that they were in. And so I would actually do this for the community. I did it for years, where one, you could, I did it through National Action Network.
Okay.
And these were some of the services that we provided to the community. And in my situation, I was able to volunteer that information.
Okay.
And so people would come in with various types of contracts. I mean, something as far as you signed something when you took a first offender plea. You would be surprised because when someone's telling you this is how you get out,
you're going to sign the paper.
You don't read everything else.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people would come in and they would talk about, hey, I got these probation issues. Well, did you read the contract associated with probation and what you signed and agreed to and these types of things? And do yourself a favor. A lot of people probably have heard of prepaid legal.
Yes.
I've had them for over 5 years at least. At a minimum, I know it's 5. And you can call them and send them your contract that you may have questions about, and they will go through it with you and things like that. And it's like $26 a month, I believe, for a family plan. The business plan may be just a little bit more, not a lot.
Okay.
And if you're in business, it's a cost of business. I started my entire business, Jordan Solutions, personal and small business management consulting, and they were my legal representatives. So if there was a question or whatever that I could not answer, I could always call them. And also, not be an attorney like Ms. Huggins, I refer people to attorneys when they need them.
Exactly.
And she made a good point. And it's a lot with our community. Do you want to have this issue resolved, or you just want to be heard?
Come on.
Because it's going to cost you a lot of money to be heard, if that's what you're interested in. But we can sit down here and go through this contract and resolve the issue for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one of the things right there. And like I said, I'm telling everybody, call. She put the link on. She put the link on the Facebook page. So
yes,
if you need her services, whatever,
definitely call.
Let me tell you something. Don't call with no plan. She's a serious young lady. She's serious about her business. She ain't got time. I'm just saying.
Send all these smart kids
to
law school.
Exactly. She ain't got time. She ain't got time to sit there and play patty cake with you. If you're serious, if you have a serious inquiry, please reach out to her. But don't waste the lady time. Don't waste her time. Tawanda, what's on your heart?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a great deal. You should come ready and prepared. You should write down your questions. 20 minutes is a long time if you do it right. And it just takes me back to training that I just did. And it is so simple, but it made so much sense about procrastination and being able to invest in yourself. If you can't invest just little small things in the beginning to make sure that your business is right, then you probably shouldn't be in business.
Right.
That's just the nicest way, that I can put it. These things you want to make sure that you set up right in the beginning, because it's going to cost you way more to clean it up.
Yeah, exactly.
To clean all this stuff up at the end.
Yes.
Exactly. Donald, what's on your heart? And then we're going back to Sheila. What's on your heart, Donald? Too soft.
I'm just thinking about what if you say $45 and man, I don't want to, first thing somebody says, I don't have to pay that. And like it's just been said, you're gonna pay in the long run. Some way or another, if especially if it goes in another direction other than what you think, you really need some help.
Exactly.
So, not much to be asking for.
Now Sheila,
but
go ahead, Tawanda. Go ahead.
But you know what? That's the crazy part, and I see it with us. So that's why I always reference us. Like $40 or $50 is nothing. People think about what they do with their money in a day. You go and you buy breakfast, or you go and you buy lunch, or you go out to dinner, or whatever. That's a small investment to learn something new, and we don't want to do it. So you're either gonna pay for it up front, or you're gonna pay for it in the long run, because if you want to figure out how to do it, then that takes time, and you're delaying whatever you need to do versus just making a small investment in your own self. At some point, you have to invest in your own self. You got to realize that the 9 to 5 that you do, you're invested in their company, but people won't invest in themselves. That's what I'm saying.
And the thing about it, what a person have to realize and ask themselves the question, am I worth it? Am I worth it?
Right.
And if they ask that question, am I worth it? And if their honest answer is yes, I am, then $45 is nothing. Nothing at all. If you feel as though you're worth it, and you're going to go into and you're going into something that you have no knowledge about legally, $45. Come on. Seriously, Sheila, what's on your heart?
So let me talk about how I came up even with the 20 minutes, because I know some people are like, well, why not half an hour, or why not doing it on an hour basis? Because I found that was really all people needed most of the time. The North Carolina Bar Association has a program where attorneys can provide legal advice, and it's $50, and it's in person or over the phone, however you want to set it up, and it's for a 30-minute session. But what I found was I would have, by the time, especially if it was something somebody wanted me to review with them, and a lot of times they would do exactly as Tawana said. They would already like come with their questions prepared, ready to go. And usually when I review a contract with them, I go from beginning to end. Like I start with, okay, who is the party at the top of the page? I go through it like that. So I start and I go from beginning to end. And then if we get to the end and their questions haven't been answered, we go through the questions that they had. And so a lot of times they'll be like, oh, okay, well, you already answered 3 of these questions. The only question I have left is this, you know? And so that's what I mean when I say I've looked at how people were coming to me and that the amount of time that they were spending. And I looked at, you know, where else they could get that service. And I tried to keep it in line with what it looked like to me, what people actually needed. Most people did not need to come. They didn't I mean, I have some people that because they want to build a long-term relationship, they want to sit down and meet with me in person. But most people are like, look, I can fit this in my lunch break.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it doesn't become this whole extra thing where they now have to drive to it. They got to try to do it between getting off work and picking up the kids, trying to get to a medical appointment. It is so much easier because it's like they can email me the document. They can schedule the time online. I'll give them a call, and then we go through it. I send them the invoice afterwards. They pay. We're done. They got what they needed. And so, you know, in terms of really making something that works for what people need, I think is what I was trying to do because I so saw that there was a need that was not being met.
Right.
And people sometimes just felt intimidated about even being able to approach an attorney. So that's why when they click on the thing and it says schedule a teleconference, they see right there it's 20 minutes, it's $45. They don't have to be like, you know, because it can be uncomfortable to call somebody and say, well, you know, I need to make sure this is going to be in my budget. Look, everybody has a budget. So, you know, people should never feel uncomfortable or afraid or concerned about saying I have a budget. Everybody has a budget. And so, you know, I try to put that information out there and take that uncomfortable or awkwardness type of feeling away for people because I want to make it as frictionless as possible so that they get what it is they're trying to get, what they need.
Exactly. Leonard?
And people need to take the time as well. When organizations offer free resources, you need to do what you need to do to get there because we always had a relationship with various attorneys and we would do legal nights. And attorneys were kind enough to volunteer, like she said. A lot of times, 25 or 30 minutes.
Yes,
that's a long time. That's a long time
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about, you know, business and things like that. And attorneys would volunteer their time, and all you had to do was come and sign up.
Yep.
And they would sit with you for 20 minutes or so. And you know, you had a lot of people. I just want to tell my story. The story is not going to resolve the issue. The facts and the evidence is what's going to resolve the issue. So a lot of communities have a lot of free resources. People like Atlanta Legal Aid, for instance. I remember when it used to be very free, but I think now they kind of maybe attach a little $25 to it or so or something like that. But usually if you call and you're brief and you're prepared, you can usually handle someone in 15 to 20 minutes. I particularly, with my normal consultation fee was usually $50 an hour. And then a lot of times I would waive it based on how you were referred and things like that because I didn't want it to be a hindrance. And an hour is a lot of time.
You know, like you'll be finished 3 times in an hour.
And I'm taking that time usually to educate people. Also, I will provide resources for you so you can go study some more after the fact, provide forms and documents that be necessary and try to direct you in a way because if I see that this is going to be a constant issue for you, you may need to educate yourself more.
Exactly.
So to try to do things ahead of time.
Teach a man how to fish. Absolutely. Sheila, let me ask you this. Walk me through, Sheila, the process. Say if you all are over the phone, or having a Skype meeting or whatever the case, Zoom meeting. What is the process from pretty much start to finish of how this whole 20 minutes will go?
So let's just take, for instance, a contract review. So somebody would schedule a teleconference online I'd send them an email confirmation, just making sure that I have the correct number and the time and nothing has changed. And then at that time, I would give them a phone call. And the other thing too is usually people will email me first anyway, because it's like, oh, I saw that it's a contract, and I'll go ahead and tell them. I said, you can send me the contract in advance and email it to me, and that way, if I have some extra time, I might even have a chance to read it before we get on the phone, which makes me even more prepared. And so sometimes they send it to me in advance, and sometimes they send it to me, like right before the teleconference. But I give them a call, and I say, so say if it's a contract, I'll say, okay, so we're going to review the contract. I'm going to review it with you first, and then leave some time for you to come back and make sure that you have all your questions answered. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said before, literally I start at the top of the page, which is who are the parties, And so if this is your company, I say, is this your correct legal address? Are you currently in good standing and active with your state? Mm-hmm. Do you have everything correct there? And then I do the same thing with the other party. Like I will actually I will be online, while we're talking, and I will pull it up to see if the company that they're entering into an agreement with is in good standing, or if it's even active, or if it even exists. Mm-hmm. I have had companies submit contracts and the companies didn't even exist yet,
Wow.
And so then we sit there and we just go through it piece by piece by piece, the whole contract, and I tell them everything. And sometimes I'll ask questions about things as we're going through. And you have to pick up on cues on the phone. Mm-hmm. You have to listen for them just like you would if you were sitting with a person. So if you're not hearing something, it might be sometimes because somebody's thinking about something, but they're processing it because they might have a question. And so you have to pick up on the fact that they're no longer saying, okay, yeah, and all of a sudden everything got quiet. So as the person who's assisting, I then have to say, okay, so I just want to check in because it sounds like maybe you have a question about this, And so you have to be very attentive when you're having that telephone consultation, just like you would if you were in person and all of a sudden, the person starts frowning at something you're saying because they're like, oh my gosh, you haven't had that happen before. I'm glad you explained that. I got a question though. And so you have to check out for those nonverbal and so now you have to look out for auditory cues is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So generally, like I said, we just go through the contract page by page. And then we, like I said, we get to the end and see if they have any questions. Now, once we get to the end, there are a couple of things that happen. And it depends on whether or not, it depends on who's in charge of the contract. Let's put it that way. Because you may have a person somebody gave them this contract, okay? And they may say, well, Sheila, I'm glad you updated me on this, but I realized that this contract it's got so much stuff on it, I can't make these few changes you're talking about, and I don't understand how to present them to the other person. Will you take this on and finish this with the other party and get it back to them with the things that I heard you say need to be added? Mm-hmm. So sometimes they may tell me to take that ball and roll with it.
Okay.
And sometimes it may be, okay, well, Sheila, it sounds like there's only one change that needs to be made here, and you just said it was what? I'm going to type it in as you're telling me. And I tell them, and they're done. They've got their contract with their one or two little changes because maybe it was a contract that they had an attorney draft before, and they just want to make sure it was still good, and there were only one or two changes. So it really sort of depends, that sort of next step after that sort of depends on what their needs are, and how much of that they can do and how much of that they might need me to do.
Good deal.
And then at the end, I usually send them a link for an invoice that allows them to pay by e-check or a credit or debit card.
Okay. That's good. Now, hold on now. They don't pay up front.
So here's the thing with I know, right? That's taking a chance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's the thing with the providing legal services. So you have to be you have to really distinguish between retaining somebody and having them give you fees up front before you provided the service, and versus you like getting paid afterward because you've already done the work. So because there's so many teleconferences, I have to put that in a trust account each time and then move it over. So you're talking about, oh my gosh, if you've got a few, teleconferences a week, then you're like having deposit in your trust fund and this in your trust account. And then after you get off the phone with them, then you got to move it from your trust account to your general account, or at the end of the week or however you want to do it. I just did not find that was a good use of my time. And so and I have rarely run into an instance where I'm trying to think back where it's been an issue where somebody didn't pay me, that it may have taken them a day or two, because sometimes, and I'll admit, sometimes it takes me a day or two to get the invoice to them, because it may be that I've got back-to-back appointments. And so I'll let them know it might be later on this evening or tomorrow morning before I even get the invoice linked to you. And so the thing about it is that, yes, it's just some trust accounting rules. And like I said, I just haven't had, if it were a big issue where people didn't pay me for that, then I would change it, but it just hasn't been a big issue. Most of the people have been thankful for the service, and they recognize the value that they got for that $45, and they're okay with paying it. I'm trying to think back, like, if anything, maybe people have been a little slow paying, but it's not been a situation where people are just not paying me. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say, Sheila, you're just so nice. You're just so nice, and so you just, we got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good morning, y'all. Toy with the C on the line. Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good deal. Good deal. We're talking to Attorney Sheila Huggins, and she's actually talking to us right now about contracts. So what's on your heart right now?
Yeah, man. Hey, I suggest right now, because I'm dealing with a lot of artists, and I tell them all, go grab a legal shield and get some contracts right. Don't be scared to negotiate. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I'm a big user of Legal Shield and Legal Zoom, things like that, to be able to help me modify those contract changes. So trust me, I know what she is talking about. That's the most important thing. I don't think people understand that everything we do basically is a contract. And once you put it in writing and put a signature on it, whether you read it or not, it's still binding. So, contracts are very intricate in everything we do. Love the information.
Absolutely. Tawanda, what's on your heart right now? Everybody mute your line so we don't have background noise. Everybody mute your line for me. Good deal. Tawanda, what's on your heart?
Nothing. This is good information, but since we're picking Sheila's brain today, I wanted her to talk about non-disclosures and when to use them, and the benefit of them, and then any legal things she knows about non-disclosure.
Yeah, so it's funny. I have a YouTube channel, and I thought about this earlier when the gentleman was talking. You have to tell me what his name is so I can stop calling him that. But when he was talking about free, I'm sorry?
Leonard. His name,
what was it?
Leonard.
Oh, yeah, when Leonard was talking about free legal advice, he was so right. And so there's been a case, I've done tons of free workshops, and usually it's with certain partners, like he said, it's with the community college or something like that. My rule is, and I have had this other company kind of reach out to me and say, oh, we'd love for you to provide a workshop. And I told them, I said, well, wait a minute. Last time I checked, you guys don't pay. And so if you get paid, I get paid. And so you're not paying me, I don't do a free workshop for you. But one of the things that I've done is I've tried to share some legal information on my YouTube channel. And one of the workshops that we did was around filmmaking and that sort of thing. So there's this whole I think it's like hour-long video on my YouTube channel about it. But non-disclosure agreements, people I think sometimes don't take advantage of them as fully as they should. And non-compete clauses also. A lot of times they go hand in hand. So I'm going to talk about both of them at the same time, because usually you've hired somebody, or you're partnering with somebody on something, or you're bringing somebody in, and they're going to have access to your client list, to maybe your business plan, your marketing strategy. They could take all that stuff and go out and start their own business, and then try to take some of the very clients that you have built relationships with and have established your business with, And so if you don't have, this non-compete in there, here this person's using your information and they're walking off with it. The other thing is, maybe they aren't using it to compete with, but they've then shared information that should have remained confidential, And so this non-disclosure agreement, like I talked about earlier, that's one of those things that you say survives the contract. You cannot disclose any, and sometimes you'll have, here's what the confidential information is, and it'll list, the list will be a paragraph long, it'll be business plans, marketing strategy, customer list, just all this stuff. And so, it helps protect your business, because if you have built a significant brand and you've got all of these, all of these.
Thank you for calling. Please leave your name, a telephone number, and a brief message, and I will be back with you just as soon as I can. Have a great day.
Okay, somebody just called. I was trying to call them back, and it went to a voicemail. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So that sort of non-disclosure agreement is very, very, very important on making sure that people understand, how important that is. And so I've actually, one of the things I have now are a few courses on Udemy. I don't know how many people are familiar with Udemy, but it's a place where you can buy courses. So one of the courses I have up there is write a non-disclosure agreement like an attorney. And, Udemy runs sales all the time. So I don't know how much the course costs right now, but for instance, I've had 3 people buy the course this month, but it tells you like the purpose of a non-disclosure agreement, specific provisions that should be included in a non-disclosure agreement, red flags that could cause a court to invalidate your non-disclosure agreement, and the legal process for violation. So when somebody violates the non-disclosure agreement, what the next steps would be. And so she hit the nail on the head about how important it is. When you're bringing other people into your business, the first thing you need to think about is, if they walk away with some of my information, am I going to be harmed?
Exactly.
And if so, then I need to sit down and write something down.
Exactly.
And I recognize that, and that's why I went ahead and did the course on that.
Good deal. We have another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Sherry. Good morning. Good morning.
And who is this?
Sherry.
Hey, Cheryl. How you doing?
That's Sherry. I'm tardy for the party. What y'all talking about?
Oh, Sherry, what's going on? You got a lot of background noise. I can barely hear you. It sounds like you are.
I'm in the car.
Oh, okay. Now you got your windows rolled down, or what's going on? You going through the?
No.
Oh, okay, there you go.
No, I put you on speakerphone. Maybe it's just my car phone. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's technology. I'm still trying to learn. What y'all talking about this morning?
Well, this is Black Friday, and we have attorney Sheila Huggins with us, and she's actually talking to us this morning about contracts. And I'm going to have to get a contract with you so you can keep your all that noise down.
Don't tell me I won't be none.
Oh, okay, I know you're calling from the boot. Okay, but listen, what you have a question about the about contracts?
Well, I know some contracts you're really itchy to get out of, but you can't. But I'm just saying, like, far as legal contracts. Well, I want to ask the contract about something, but I don't know if I legally can speak about it. So I'm trying to figure out, can I dance around it? Because it's the issue. Okay. So what if you answer? That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know what I can and cannot say.
Okay, well,
and I don't want to get in trouble with some topic, or how can I dance around it without getting in trouble?
Well, my thing is first and foremost, don't call anybody's name. Do not call name. Do not name a company. Right. Don't name the name. Okay. Don't name the company. Don't name none of that. Don't put no specifics on it, because if you do, you might be causing some problems for yourself and for me. So don't.
Because I don't need to be writing to check my behind can't cash later.
That's what I'm trying to told you. That's not trying to tell you. I'm trying to told you. I already said it.
You probably told me.
I already told you.
Okay. So this is what it is. So if I enter into contract with somebody to purchase their services, and I feel that they did not, it wasn't up to par, because I am one of people. I like it a certain way, and if you don't do it how we agreed upon, then what can I do to get out this situation or to rectify it? Because my thing is that when you enter a contract and you hire somebody for a specific event, and then when the event comes, they just give you whatever, and your back is up against the wall because you need this particular item, and people just do whatever. Like, they don't give me my money anyway, I'll just assume or whatever. But people just have that thing. They just do that. They just come in there and just give you whatever because they know you're going to pay them.
Sheila, she threw a lot out there, Sheila. Yeah. She threw a lot out there. Go ahead.
Yes, so I think part of it is whether you want to terminate the agreement, and the other part is whether you want to stay in the agreement, but you just want them to perform. And it just gets really difficult because specific performance requires you to go into court to try to get them to do something. The first thing I usually try to tell somebody is to try to distinguish what they need. Like, do I need this? Am I done with this person and I just want to get out of this contract? Because that's a different conversation than I just want to make the person perform. So if you want to get out of the contract, again, just like Leonard said earlier, the contract controls how you do business. So the first thing you got to do is go back to the contract. Look for the clause that talks about termination. Like, how do I get out of this contract? Does it require 15 days notice? Does that notice have to be in writing? Does it have to be a specific breach of some term of the contract in order for me to terminate? Can I terminate early? And what's that process look like? Am I going to owe them money? Am I still going to have to pay them? So you're going to have to first look at if you want to terminate, you're going to have to first look at those terms to see under what circumstances you can terminate and what that process looks like, okay? But like you said, a lot of times what happens is we've already brought somebody in. We've gotten far along into the process. Look, I have been there. And now at this point, as my daughter says, you're invested. Like, you can't get out because your back is against the wall. Time is running out. You expect for them to provide this certain service by X date. They've been in, and it's too late for you to bring somebody else in. And so now the question is, how can I fix this? How can we work together? And how can I get them to provide the level of service that I want them to have? First and foremost, you're going to go back to the contract. And so what I tell people going into the contract is try to be, you want to use plain language. That's what I tell people. You want to use plain language, but you want to try to be as specific as possible. So, for instance, and it's easier when somebody's doing something objective or tangible, like I'm going to provide you a screenplay. Like, if you have a certain number of words or a certain length you're going for, you need to put that in the contract. If you have a certain format that you want to receive it in, you want it to be, compatible for a PC versus a Mac, you need to put that in there. If you want it to be in an editable form, like Word versus somebody giving you a PDF and you having to figure out, and turn it back around to a Word document, you want to be specific about what that looks like. So when you have standards that you can put in the contract, do it. I've worked on parking garage contracts, and what we said was, people will be like, well, how do you keep the parking garage clean? Well, guess what? There is a national parking garage association, and they put out a guide that talks about what the standards are, like how many days a week the garage, the deck needs to be swept, and what trash pickup needs to look like, and how, they have a whole manual for that. What you would do is say, hey, I expect for you to carry out this service as provided in this guidebook 2020 edition 19, you know, you would put all that in there so that they specifically know what the standards are. It gets really hard when those standards are subjective because, you know, you can tell, you know, you're like, that color is not what I had in 9. That particular tablecloth that you're providing, because maybe it's a special event, it looks cheap. I'm sorry, but it just looks cheap. And so it's really hard to set an objective standard when you're saying, yes, they're going to provide the tablecloths and they're going to provide the napkins. And so what you're doing is you're saying, well, I want cloth, you know, tablecloths and napkins, and I want them to be white, and I want them to be of a certain weight. But still, they could come in with something that still looks cheap, you know, you know what I mean? And so it's really hard.
Yeah.
You want to try to be specific as you can.
So you just can't say.
So I'm sorry.
So you just can't go up there and say, I don't want to do business with you no more. We done.
So the question is, what do you want? Do you want out of the contract, or do you want the party to perform? Because it sounds like what she was saying to me was, you know, at this point she's sort of back up against the wall, and so it's really hard to maybe get out now because you know, it's like there's two, you know, maybe I've already paid for some of the services, and why should I have to go hire somebody else and pay more money when you really ought to just be doing the job that I hired you to do? And so if she wants out of the contract, like I was saying, she's going to have to look to the termination language. If the termination language does not provide her with enough options to get out, you know, look again, you know, can the contract language be amended so that termination, you know, and at any point in time, the parties could agree to say, hey, we're just going to let this. I've had people say that. We just agree, this is not working. We're going to walk our separate ways at this point. I don't owe you anything else. You don't owe me anything else. And the parties agree to that. Okay. Specific performance is a different matter because, you know, it's like, okay, well, I can walk into court and say they've breached the contract and I want them to specifically perform as they are. And the person may say, well, look, I provided the white tablecloth. She just didn't like the style of them. I mean, how do you get around that when you're talking about something that's subjective? Because they're saying they performed.
Yes.
And a court is going to look at that and say, did that person reasonably perform? Were there holes in the tablecloth? Was it yellowed and stained? No, it was a perfectly good white tablecloth. It was just not, you know, she didn't like the sheen on it or something, you know. And so what meets a standard for one person might not meet a standard for another person. We all have different standards and expectations. And so it's a little bit harder to do that. And so I'm going to suggest that you really have a conversation that, number one, you look at the contract. And number two, if you really want out, you know, you need to have a conversation beyond the contract about how that's done. If you're trying to get the person to perform, I mean, it can be really tough because this person may think they're doing, you know, and they may have the mindset that I'm not doing anymore, you know, because I've already done. And now you're in a position where you're going to have to make a decision about how you want to proceed. Is this a person who cares about continuing to develop good business relationships? You know, if not, you may be in a situation here where you're going to wind up with a service or product that is going to be lower than your standard because you're now stuck with them. And it's not going to make any sense to try to go to court and get a court order that says they have to specifically perform and do some of these other things that you want them to do.
Okay. Now, am I hearing that you say that there should be, or a person should concentrate in a situation like this, or to avoid a situation like this, having an exit clause?
Yes. So, oh my gosh, I tell people that all the time. Like, how do you want to get out of this thing? You know, because I've had people say that, you know, that's something I'll ask people when we're going through a contract, especially when it's with another party. I'm like, so do you have any hesitations, red flags, or concerns? And I think I mentioned this in another show. I had one client say one time, he's a hustler, which is why I'm hiring him, because I know he'll do good in what I'm hiring him to do. I'm just afraid he'll hustle me. And so I said, what we'll do is we'll make the termination clause, we'll have a segment in there that says, you know, you can terminate this contract on 5 days written notice, you know, with no reason. Like you just decide for convenience. It's a termination for convenience clause that lets you get out of it after, you know, anytime you tell them, you know, as long as you give them 5 days notice in writing. And if the other person agrees to it, that's the term, you know? And so, you know, you really want to look at and consider, you know, how easy do I want to be able to get out of this contract? That's the same thing I tell clients all the time, especially artists who come to me, and they'll look at the contract and they'll say, yeah, it's a 1-year contract or it's a 2-year contract. And then I go to look at it, and sure, it's a 1 or 2 year contract, whatever it is, but it'll have options, and the options are automatic options. They aren't even options that you have to like submit. You know, if we want to extend this, we have to send something in writing 30 days before this contract terminates. No, it'll be like they're automatic extensions. And I'm like, it's an automatic extension for 5 years. So if you sign this is not a 1-year contract. This is a 6-year contract.
You're locked in.
And so you can't get out of. You're locked in for 6 years. And so that's the difference between reading the contract and then understanding how the contract operates. And so I tell them, do you want to be locked in for 6 years? If you don't want to be locked in for 6 years, that language in that option section needs to be changed. And so that termination language really, really matters. And I think what she is bringing up here is 2 important things: making sure that your termination language is tight and making sure you can get out when you need to get out. And 2, setting expectations. You know, I tell people, if you've got criteria you want them to meet, you better put that bad boy down in an attachment and be as specific as you can about your expectations and standards. If you have high expectations, you need to put that in there and say, we have the highest level of expectation of service we expect. And then, when you can be objective, use language and terms where, it's very clear what the standard is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tawanda, what's on your heart?
I forgot I was on mute. No, and it's just a great show. And anytime that, anytime we get everybody on here to educate, it's just a great show. Because the people need to know, like, do it right the first time, or, you pay more in the end trying to clean up the mess when, you can just invest in yourself and your brand and do it right legally the first time around.
Exactly. Good deal. Well, this has been a great broadcast. Leonard, anything on your heart before we get out of here?
Oh man, that was great. Keep your eyes open. If I know of any resources or what have you, I'll definitely post them on the website, because a lot of times the organizations that I am involved with and network with offer free, a lot of different free resources to the community. And also, that's one of the better things about Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook oftentimes will give, when people are selling products and services, you can get the little bonus there by just going in and clicking the webinars. If you get free webinars and things like that to educate yourself. I got books in my bag right now to get ahead of changes for nonprofit organizations, for instance, because I'm a consultant. So I have to stay ahead of things to understand what's going on. Also, just something funny. You can't have a contract on illegal activities. So no. If the nature of your business is illegal, please don't think a contract is going to be valid. Okay.
What you here for today, sir? Well, let me tell you, Your Honor. Hey,
stranger things have happened. You know what I'm saying?
Some of the stuff that I got, some of my product come up missing, Your Honor, and I think him got it. Your Honor.
I can't consult on illegal activities. I am not an attorney.
Look at the judge said, "Well, do you have an attorney? I couldn't get down to take my case, Your Honor. I'm representing me. Me. Donald, what's on your heart, brother?
You know what I thought about? I don't know who it was talking about the conversation or what they couldn't talk about. How some people will do. You say, "Well, I need my tablecloths," and they come with a bunch of bed sheets.
You gotta turn the flashlight on the flashlight. That's all. You gotta make sure.
So it's good talking to you all today. I enjoyed it.
He said, "It's good talking to you all today." Good deal. Anybody else have anything on their heart before we get out of here?
Cheers.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, y'all. So for those of us that are listening, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm administrative assistant for a medical and dental college.
Come on now.
Anybody out there that may be interested in starting a new career,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for changing into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But to get the certification, it's a 9-month program. Financial aid will apply for those that are eligible. So if anybody's interested, feel free to hit up either Raheem or myself, and we can get you started to learn more about that 9-month process.
Exactly. Get your mouth fixed. Get your mouth fixed. Anybody else got anything before we get out of here? And we're gonna go to Sheila before we end. Anybody else have anything on their heart? Go ahead.
Yeah, me. I just want to say a situation I was talking about was a prior situation, but I need to hire somebody for an upcoming situation in October. And I was just like, the way it ended was wrong when I said some words, and I wanted to take it to the street, but I turned the other cheek because that's what the Bible says. And I was like, I need to find out. I'm like, okay, then if you could tell me about some contracts, and I can do it the legal way this time, and I won't have to catch nobody in no back alley and handle them.
Lord, man. Look.
Oh, Lord, it's the Detroit in me. It's the Detroit in me. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord.
What in the world just happened? What in the world just happened? Look at that. What in the world just happened? How in the world did we get?
I'm sorry, Christian radio. Oh, I know I'm wrong. My mama worked for Christian radio station for 21 years. I'm going to hell.
What in the world just happened? What? Hey, Donald.
Phone on mute. Put your phone on mute.
Turn your flashlight on, Donald.
Look at Donald. Will somebody tell her when she want to say something like that the next time? Don't.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I did curse.
Sheila, we're not always.
I did curse.
Sheila, we're not always like this. Sheila, we're not always like this. I just want to tell you, sister, we're not always like this. Every now and then,
No, it just needs look.
Sheila, the views of the
people.
Exactly. Hey, look at here. I'm gonna tell you something. There's always one in the family. Go ahead.
Raheem, you got to do your clause. Keep in mind that people may not reflect the reputation of DKM Radio. It's a personal opinion.
Exactly, because she talk about taking somebody down a back alley and hitting them in the head.
She said she wanted to take you to the street. She said she was going to take you to the street. She wanted to take you to the street.
Hey, look at here.
You definitely be voiding the contract.
Lord, my Jesus. Look.
I said sorry, Lord. Forgive me for what I just said. I know not what I do.
You done already said it now. But listen, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here for today, man. This has been a great broadcast. Leonard, I need you to say a prayer for this sister, man. I need you to say a prayer for her, man. Lay some holy hands on her. Some holy hands on her. Hallelujah. Praise God. But listen, this has been a great broadcast. Sheila, anything on your heart? And give everybody information as to how they can get in contact with you.
My website, and I also put it on the Facebook page. The website is SheilaHugginsLaw.com, and it's SheilaHugginsLaw.com. And I put all the resources on the Facebook page so that people can always go back and check it out at any time. But I did want to touch on one thing Leonard said, because I think sometimes it slips people's minds, and you'd be surprised how many people would try to do something like that. But yeah, you can only have a contract on something that's legal. So you can't hire somebody to, steal something and then sue them because they did not steal the right thing. Like that. There are people who have, they've literally hired people and put what they wanted them to do in a contract, and it was, it's a no. You can't do that. You got a couple of problems if you're even thinking about doing that. But thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure
today and reminding me. Love to be here, you guys. Love to
Hey, love having you. Definitely love having you. But let me ask you a question before you go, Sheila. So you telling me, and I just want to understand this now. You telling me that I can't hire somebody to drive my weed wagon?
Look, you can't sue them if you can't sit back and say, well, hey, they didn't show up on time, man. I'm suing you for breach of contract because
now you're playing with my money, you're late.
Right, like you can't do that. But it has to be for a legal purpose. It cannot be for an illegal purpose. You cannot do a contract for an illegal purpose.
Okay.
Right here.
Can I?
Right here.
Yes.
Right here. That's when you gotta take it to the streets, right here. You gotta take it to the streets. That's what I said.
Don't wake her back up. She don't went to sleep. She's taking a nap over there. Don't wake her back up. She's taking a nap. Don't wake her back. Leave her on over there. She all right. She all right. Leave her on over there.
They had gangsters in the Bible. They was getting down in the Bible. You know them Bible stories.
Then why did you wake her back up? Why did you wake her back up? Why did you wake her back up? We were doing good. We was about to ready to go. We were about to close the show, and you don't woke her back up. Now she's talking about gangsters in the Bible. Sheila, I promise you, we're not always like this. We really not. I'm
getting ready for amateur night. The next one.
Lord, my Jesus, you getting ready for something? You look here, hallelujah, praise the Lord. Lay hands on the riding in a Hyundai. Okay, listen, Toya, what's going on at 3:00 today?
All right, y'all. Well, if y'all don't know now, you know. If you want to check this show out in its full entirety, you can check it out today at 3:00 on www.dkmradio.com.
Good day. Y'all think I can put Sheila on the spot? Sheila, can I put you on the spot?
I don't know.
Look here. However your heart say, how any way God speaks to you, pray us out today.
Okay. All right. Dear Lord, thank you for having us come together today to be a voice for people who are listening, to provide them with information that they may not normally get, and for allowing this to continue to take place every Friday. We know that there's sometimes challenges that are put in front of us, but we know that you're walking with us all the time. So we will go forward into the day with what you would have us do, and we would be blessed. Amen.
Hey, man, look at that. Look at I ain't know you was a preacher. I didn't know you. Look at I didn't know you was a preacher. You didn't tell us about that. Now, the preacher woman, somebody pass the plate, because it's time for the collection. The word has come forth. Now we got to have the collection. Listen, we're about to get out of here for today. I'm just being silly. Listen, it's been a great week, man, and this is a great way to end it with Black Friday. And then we have our celebrity with us. We have a celebrity in the house with us today. Attorney Sheila Huggins, we definitely appreciate you, sister, and it's always a thrill, honor, and a pleasure when you come with us, so definitely thank you. Now, we're about to get out of here for today. It is now 9:12. You're about to exit the Morning Glow, but before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us, because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, right, this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug, because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you could do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. Now we shine some of this light on you from the Morning Glow. Now take it out there into this cruel, wicked world that we live in, and let your light so shine, even if you got to take them down to the back alley. But we'll get back to that later. We're going to end with the Barnes family. We're going to end with the Barnes families, and the name of the song is... See, they can't stop laughing. Look at they see they won't even let me introduce the song. See, Sheila, I believe you had something to do with this today. I believe you had something to do with this. But
I think we are all in a good mood.
That's
and,
good.
You know, when you can just tell when you're around good people.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
what that is.
Absolutely. To God be the glory. We're about to get out of here. The name of the song is Jesus and Me. The Barnes family. The name of the song is Jesus and Me. Have a great day, y'all. Take care of each other.
Come on, give Deborah a hand. She comes. Jesus and Me.